Wednesday here, another Insider Mick episode here. I mean, I almost came up with a win in MSP last week, but came up a little bit short, lost the tiebreakers, but finished with a +9. Had a pretty good week last week in the pool last week, so I did pretty good in that one. Especially including my pick of the week, which we'll talk about in a little bit. I won that one. I mean, he had a pretty kind of eventful college football weekend as well. Let's talk about last week's slate of games. The Iowa-UCLA game was kind of a mild upset, I mean, UCLA beating Iowa. I mean, UCLA was 3-6 going in that game. I think it was forward. Yeah, they were 3-6. Now with that win, they are 2 wins away from bowl eligibility of Eden. Iowa, I mean, they had their good running back. They had Caleb Johnson doing well, but just not enough to beat UCLA for some reason. So UCLA still keeping their bowl hopes alive with that win this past Friday night. So that happened. Ohio State made it look easy, shutting out Purdue 45-0 after a huge win over Penn State almost 2 weeks ago. So now they pretty much now, really keeping their hopes alive, really like locking in a playoff spot. Especially making a statement win over Purdue. That's a good win. We had a big upset over the weekend. Number 4 Miami falls to Georgia Tech. That's one no one saw coming. But it's back-to-back seasons. Georgia Tech has beaten Miami. So, God, Mario Crispell's having some kryptonite right now for sure. I mean, think about it, like losing to Georgia Tech again. Last time, all they had to do was just kneel it against Georgia Tech like last season. This season, Georgia Tech was just too much for them. It was just insane. This time, Miami was undefeated at the time, and they get finally their first loss. The thing is, this Miami team's been so lucky a lot this year. They got lucky against Virginia Tech, which we're not going to get into as much still, because still salty about the Hail Mary, controversial call. Like they're calling it not a touchdown. It's called an incomplete pass. Are you kidding me? So yeah, that one happened. They overcame a 25-point deficit and beat Cal. They've had some other comeback wins too. So like, Miami got what they deserve, and that's a loss. They finally got what they deserved. It's kind of like someone else we know that gets lucky, the Kansas City Chiefs. So Texas made it look easy on the Florida Gators. Making another statement win, improving their resume, in the college football playoffs. So Texas want to just dominate a lot of their weak opponents. That's what they're trying to do. And BC kind of shocked, it was kind of a mild upset, beating Syracuse. Yeah, Boston College beating Syracuse, which I did not see coming at all. I agree. Mahomes does suck this year. Yeah, Syracuse end up losing to Boston College, which I did not see coming. I thought after a big win over Virginia Tech, Syracuse would keep the momentum going. But they're definitely out of the championship race now with that loss to BC. They kind of had a slim chance, but they're definitely out of it now. Another shocker, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is ranked, but still just dominating number 3 Georgia. That really hurts Georgia's playoff chances, just getting absolutely dismantled by Ole Miss. So Ole Miss has moved up pretty much in the playoff spot now. They're in the top 12 now in the rankings this week. Indiana avoids an upset, so Indiana survives a scare from Michigan. So Indiana beats Michigan, and they're 10-0 for the first time in program history. So the Hoosiers are having a historic college football season. And they got a bye week this week before they had that big one with Ohio State. So he said, Kirk and Jimmy said Michigan sucks and Ohio State sucks. He said, so he's right about that. He backed up the Michigan game so far. Let's see if he can back up Ohio State in a couple weeks. We'll see if he does in that one. Yep, my Hokies end up losing to Clemson. I thought they're going to pull the upset off. But, we had terrible offense that day. Even with our starters back, I thought we had a chance, but we played terrible. I'll admit, that was probably the worst performance I've seen all season. Because every game we lost has been one possession. This is probably the worst performance all year. Easily. I mean, yes, it's against Clemson. That's a good Clemson team, don't get me wrong. But this is in Blacksburg. This is your biggest home game in the year, and your offense really didn't show up. That shows how embarrassing this was. This is exactly why Virginia Tech is not a playoff team. This is exactly why they're 5-5. The mistakes they made all year. I'm not going to sit there like, make excuses. No. They're getting what they deserved. And this comes from a Virginia Tech fan. They had all the media hyping up, and then they let these bad losses get to them. The Vanderbilt one, the Rutgers. Well, I mean, Miami can't. There's no shame in that one. Same as Clemson, but the thing is, it was poor offense. Syracuse, that's a team you should have beaten too. So like they've had a lot of teams that they should have beaten most of the time they lost. And they're still trying to fight for that 6th win to get to bowl eligibility. So that's disappointing for Virginia Tech right there. Notre Dame dropping a 50-burger on Florida State, really improving their chances in the playoffs as well. Because sometimes depends how you win the outcome of the game, like how you win, how much you win by. That's how the college football playoffs are doing it this year because it's expanded. Kind of a little bit. And Alabama makes a statement win over LSU. I mean, so that's a huge win for Alabama, going on the road and just winning 42-13. That is impressive for Alabama. Pretty impressive. Of course, Washington and Penn State. The Penn State whiteout game. Penn State just holding Washington to at least 2 field goals. Penn State looked pretty good, bouncing back after a tough loss to Ohio State. But Pitt has really let down. They started out 7-0, and now they've lost back-to-back games. I picked this one. I told you UVA was going to pull this upset off. I wasn't just doing just a pick against Pitt on purpose. It sounds weird. I told you I wanted UVA to win, but I did. Pitt is really let down. They started out good, and all of a sudden, they're pretty much out of the AC championship game. There's no way Pitt's in it, too. Virginia Tech's out of it. Pitt's out of it. Syracuse, I mean, seriously, there's no way. It's going to be a 3-team race to determine which 2 teams are going to the AC. It's going to be down to Miami, SMU, and Clemson. This could be those 3 teams battling. Maybe Louisville, but I really think it's going to be a 3-team race. Pitt had their chance. They had their chance to keep themselves in the conversation, especially going to the Clemson game, and they just fall apart again. Of course, like Holstein goes down in the game, which hurts too for Pitt, but that's a tough one. You can't lose to UVA at home. So I'll tell you, Pitt is definitely done. They're out of the playoff conversation. They're out of the AC championship. They're done. There's no doubt in my mind. They'll at least have a chance at a bowl game. That's it. Because they're already in a bowl game. That's the only thing they got to play for at this point. But let's get to this week's college football picks. Let's start with another Friday night game on Fox. Another 9 o'clock game. A couple Big Ten teams. I mean, of course, new to the Big Ten, UCLA and Washington. UCLA last week just played a week ago on Fox, this past Friday night by beating Iowa. Now they get to go to, this time they head to Seattle this time instead of home game. They head to Seattle to play against the Washington Huskies. This was a tough one to pick. They're both having down years. It sounds crazy. I'm going to pick against UCLA again. I'm going to go with Washington this time. I'm going to go with the Huskies. I think because they're 5-5. They're 1 away from bowl eligibility, and they're at home field advantage, so I got to go with them. So I got the Huskies this one. This one, I mean, hate both these teams. This next game here. This is at noon on ESPN. It is Clemson at Pitt. Celtics at Clemson beat Virginia Tech, and I've always hated Pitt. This is in Acrisure Stadium. This is in Steel City. So we got a big weekend in that city for sure. Yeah, Clemson and Pitt on Saturday, and then Sunday got the big divisional showdown between the Ravens and the Steelers for first place in the AFC North. So we got 2 big ones here. But I'm gonna go with Clemson. Pitt is just falling apart since they suffered their first defeat against SMU. They lost to the UVA last week. I gotta go with Clemson. They passed the biggest road test of the year going into Blacksburg and placed Virginia Tech, and they made a statement. They prevailed. They really looked good in the second half. They couldn't score at all in the first half, and all of a sudden they got going. All the points came in the second half because they ran into a bad Virginia Tech offense. And yeah, I gotta go with Clemson. Some could be Pitt. Pitt could pull off an upset. You never know, which could really help Pitt back in the conversation for sure. But in this one, I think Clemson's got more to play for than Pitt. So I gotta go with the Tigers. This one's another noon game here. Ohio State at Northwestern. This is technically a Northwestern home game. This is at Wrigley Field at noon on the Big Ten Network. Ohio State, I mean, they all came, it's Northwestern territory, but everyone came to see Ohio State play in Wrigley Field. So I gotta go with the Buckeyes in this one. This could be a trap game going in the Indiana game, but I gotta go with the Buckeyes in this one. They could have fits in this one. And Northwestern could give them fits because Ohio State could look ahead to that big showdown with undefeated Indiana. But I like the Buckeyes. Next, you got Texas at Arkansas. I mean, of course, Texas right now, still in the bracket for the playoff chances here. They're still in it. They're still in this thing. Pretty much leading the Big 12. I think the SEC actually, I'm used to seeing on the Big 12. It's like everything's so much changed in college football. But yeah, Texas leading the SEC this year after leaving the Big 12 last season. So last time they played in Arkansas, they lost 3 years ago. But I'm going to go with the Longhorns this time. I think They know what it is to play out in Fayetteville, Arkansas, so they got to win this one. So there's no letdowns here for Texas. They're going to win another one over an average team in the SEC like Arkansas. A lot on the line for Colorado this one. This is at home on Big Noon Saturday on Fox against Utah, who is one of the rivals in the Pac-12, now Big 12 rivals. Should be a good showdown here, but I got to go with Coach Prime. I'm going to go with Colorado. Shedeur Sanders is going to be too much for Utah to handle. I really think so. I really think the Colorado Buffaloes roll in this one and really keep their Big 12 championship hopes alive. They still have a chance to make the playoffs. So I got to go with them. Now let's move on to the afternoon games. The 3 o'clock game on the CW network. It is Syracuse for the third straight week playing on CW. This time they head out west, take on Cal Berkeley. And Cal finally got their first ACC win last week over Wake Forest. Meanwhile, Syracuse lost the beast. But I'm going to go with Syracuse. Despite the long road trip, I think they're going to bounce back and beat the Cal Bears and get their 7th win of the season. I like them in this one. This one's a big-time mismatch. This will be a 3:30 game on CBS. Is Penn State at Purdue. It's not even close. After what we saw Ohio State did to Purdue, Penn State by a lot. This Purdue team is just easily one of the worst teams, probably in the nation, all of college football for sure. One of the worst big school teams this year in football this year, easily. Another 3:30 game. This is on NBC. It's Notre Dame's home game. They're against UVA. UVA just came off a huge win over Pitt. Notre Dame dropped a 50-burger on Florida State. As much as I want to take UVA, but this is in South Bend. I got to go with Fighting Irish. Notre Dame really can't afford to lose another game after they lost to NIU early in the season. So I got to go with the Fighting Irish to keep their playoff chances alive. Here's a 3:30 game on ESPN. It is, of course, these two teams. Last time these two met was in the Fenway Bowl. It was SMU and Boston College. Now it's their first year as ACC opponents. This is in Dallas. Yeah, this is in Dallas, Texas. SMU's got home field advantage. It's not going to be close. SMU wins by a lot. And they're going to remain undefeated in conference play. I mean, everyone thought that SMU was not going to compete in the ACC for a championship, but they really showed they can compete in the ACC for sure. In their first year in the conference. I get the Mustangs by a lot. Typical SEC rivalry game here. LSU and Florida. This is in the swamp. It could be a tough one for LSU. I mean, they came off a bad loss to Alabama, even though I wouldn't say bad loss. Still, that is embarrassing. I thought LSU could have competed better against Alabama. And I think they're going to take their frustrations out on the Gators. So I got to go with the LSU Tigers in this one. Florida just got destroyed by Texas. It's not going to be another close one. LSU by a lot in that one. Now the primetime games. You only got 2 good primetime games I could think of this week. Number 1, Oregon heads to Madison, Wisconsin, take on the Wisconsin Badgers. Madison's always a tough place to play. But I think it's not going to phase this Oregon team at all. Oregon is legit the most complete team in college football this year. And I think they could win the national championship easily. So I got to go with Oregon on the road in a tough road test and just make it look easy against Wisconsin. Here's the biggest game of the week in college football. Tennessee at Georgia. This is pretty much, it's a do or die game for Georgia after that loss to Ole Miss. It pretty much is now. And Tennessee, tough road test. I'm going into Athens. Saturday Night Football, 7:30 on ABC. So, this was a tough one to pick, but I got to go with Tennessee. I feel like Tennessee's going to beat Georgia this time. Sounds nuts, but I mean, Georgia does bounce back after losses. They really do well, responding well after a loss, but this Tennessee team's tough, especially their defense has gotten so much better over the years. It's not going to be an offensive shootout. It's going to be a lot of defense. It's going to be a low-scoring game, but Tennessee prevails, winning a tough road test against Georgia. I got Tennessee win this one, and I think Georgia, it will be eliminated from playoff contention after this one. That's what I like in that one. But let's move on to MSP. Let's move on to the NFL. What a week it was last week in the NFL, for sure. It was one of those bizarre kind of weeks. It's also had some good games, too, as well. That Ravens-Bengals game, it lived up to the hype, for sure. That was probably one of the best Thursday night games all year. And, of course, that was my pick of the week. The Ravens didn't cover, and I took the Bengals points as underdogs. I just knew the Ravens weren't covering. So I won another pick of the week. 9 out of the first 10 weeks. Pretty good for Instigator Mick. Really hanging on to first place in MSP in the overall standings. So that was an instant classic. Bengals, I mean, there should have been some penalties there late in the game. They go for 2. There should have been a pass interference. The thing is, there's also been a face mask call, too, on the Ravens as well, like in that game as well. So, some bad referee calls, but it was such an instant classic. You can't take any away. The Bengals were so close. This is the closest the Bengals really came to beating the Ravens. They were just a 2-point conversion away from winning it. The Giants and Panthers, it was yes, they both suck, but it came down to the end and went to overtime, and the Panthers won. So I won that pick too. That was the Germany game. I mean, I won. I don't know how I pulled that pick off. I really, for some reason, Instagram Mick does well in toilet bowl picks and MSP. That's really what he does is really best at, other than just pick of the weeks. So I had a feeling the Giants weren't covering that. Evenly matched game like that. But yeah, Pinheiro kicks the game winner. Panthers we won back-to-back games for the first time this season. Pretty impressive. The Panthers are starting to gain some confidence. Even though they might not make the playoffs, but hey, this will boost for next season. The Buffalo Bills, they won though. I'll take it. Any win in the NFL for sure, but it was kind of bizarre. It was one of those bizarre kind of games. A lot of turnovers from both sides. I mean, Josh Allen, threw a couple interceptions, but it was bound to happen. I mean, he can't be perfect, but still had a good game. I mean, got a lot of good chunk plays of Matt Collins for sure, no doubt. Joe Flacco, the lucky the Bills defense showed up though. Started with Teron Johnson. The first play on defense for the Bills, they force a pick six. So Joe Flacco also had a rough day. He had like 4 turnovers. It was a rough day for the Colts for sure. But the thing is, they could have had a chance to win, but the Bills, that defense is one of the big reasons why they won. Also James Cook, also Matt Collins. Josh Allen has some good plays too. He had some rushing touchdowns too, but those are the guys I can really think of. The Bills D. Tyler Bass didn't miss a field goal as well. And I can also think, obviously, Matt Collins had some big plays. One of the big reasons why they won. Of course, they're without Keon Coleman and Amari Cooper, so give them a lot of credit there. Finding a way to win this one. They still covered the spread, at least for me. The Bills did. This one was real ugly. This Vikings-Jaguars game. Vikings kicked like 4 field goals and still won. I won the pick at least. But just, oh my God. It was just an ugly game. The Vikings are not as good as we saw early in the season. Let's be honest. They barely beat a Jacksonville team. They couldn't even score a touchdown and still won. NFL's weird like that sometimes. They're lucky. They're lucky they're playing Mac Jones. Let's be honest. The Vikings were lucky they were playing against Mac Jones. Because if they were playing against Trevor Lawrence, they would have lost. Let's be honest there. This Vikings team is still showing some signs of fraudulency, but they could turn around. They could prove me wrong, but just they look concerned. They look like frauds this past weekend. They barely beat a terrible Jacksonville team with Mac Jones. This one was one of the other best games. Other than that Bengals-Ravens game, this one was the next one was a really good one. That Steelers-Commanders game came down to the very end. I mean, Commanders blew a 13-point lead and lost to Steelers. I had a feeling the Steelers were going to win this one, but barely. I just knew it would be a down-to-the-wire game. And the Commanders jump off sides, which got the Steelers the win at that point. So, tough one for the Commanders, but it's got to be a lesson learned for discipline, especially. Steelers were the better team in that one. You know, people say they got lucky, but these were 2 really good teams. So it lived up to the hype, that one. It wasn't like a low-scoring ugly game. It was a back-and-forth football game, it was. So it came out of it. Good win for the Steelers. Tough break for the Commanders, just getting a penalty on that one. The Falcons and the Saints. Saints finally end their 7-game losing streak. I mean, they finally get a win for the first time since week 2. First time ever since they fired their coach. I can't believe they picked the Falcons. I should have known to pick the Saints. They should have known to pick the Saints, especially with the new coach. But just at the same time, I still couldn't trust them. What can you do in that one? Those are my few errors in MSP. I had in that one. Broncos and Chiefs. I knew the Chiefs weren't covering. The Chiefs are the luckiest fucking team in the NFL. I'm sorry. They remind you of the 2020 Steelers, but worse. Even though they got better players, probably, for sure. But thing is, the Steelers had Big Ben, probably. I don't know. It's hard to tell which one's worse, but still, it's the point differential. That's what I think about. Come down to. They have the worst point differential as an undefeated team. They really do. I think they're worse than the 2020 undefeated Steelers. I really think so. I mean, not just saying it. I just think it's the fact. No, let's see who else was another one. Oh yeah. The Baltimore Ravens, the kickoff game. They got lucky in that one. Because Isaiah Lucky had only 1 foot to 2 feet, but that was really close. You had that happen. Week 2 was another close game too against the Bengals. They've won by a point because of some missed pass interference call. Same with the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. There should have been a penalty on the Chiefs there in the end zone. They were all over Kyle Pitts. Should have been a penalty. There's so many of these games. Like, there's been so many other football games that have been like this all year in the Chiefs games. It's just ridiculous how lucky they keep getting. I'm not saying because I'm a Bills fan, but just like, God, who can beat this team when you have the referees dick sucking the hell out of Patrick Mahomes? Like, it's just ludicrous how the Chiefs getting lucky each week. They've had a few blowout wins, but not by that much, like the Bills do. But yep, lucky win for them. I feel bad for the Denver Broncos in that one. The Buccaneers, I knew they were. The Buccaneers, I knew that they play close. I took the points. I knew the 49ers weren't going to cover. But yep, 49ers hit a game-winning field goal. It was a back-and-forth game. McCaffrey's first game back, they get a win. Ricky Pearsall, after surviving his shooting this offseason, he gets a touchdown, his first NFL touchdown. That's pretty impressive. What a story for that kid. But still a solid win. That's a good Bucs team, even though despite their record, but still, the Bucs are competitive. So a good win for the 49ers. This one, talk about ugly. 19-3, the Patriots beat the Bears. And everyone's on that Caleb Williams hype train all offseason during the draft, like, oh, Caleb Williams, rookie of the year, Caleb Williams, rookie of the year, that. The Bears are terrible. This is the same old Chicago Bears for the last decade. They are just a terrible franchise. You lose to a terrible New England Patriots team at home. You should have at least won by 10 points, at least, or more than that. That is embarrassing. All the Bears scored was 3 points. It's the same old Bears. And the thing is, Caleb Williams got so many weapons. He's got Keenan Allen. He's got DJ Moore. He's also got Cole Kmet as a tight end. You got DeAndre Swift as your running back. And you got a good defense, but this is the same old Bears team. The Bears finally had to fire their offensive coordinator after that game. The Bears, they're still the same old Bears. Titans, Chargers. I'm not surprised the Chargers were going to cover the spread. Titans played competitive for a while, but the Chargers ran away in the second half. I did well on that pick. Eagles made it look easy on the Cowboys because the Cowboys were so beat up and just so much off-the-field drama this season. So I'm not surprised on that one. And boy, I thought it'd be a lot closer game, but boy, this shows Aaron Rodgers needs to retire. Just getting this mail by the Cardinals. This is a good Cardinals team. They played tough with the Bills. And played tough with some other teams as well. They beat the 49ers, but still. Aaron Rodgers got everything he wanted. He wanted Devontae Adams. He wanted Allen Lazard. He wanted all his former Packers. He has Garrett Wilson. He has Breece Hall. They suck. I tell you. They thought, they were just riding the hype train on Aaron Rodgers again for being comeback player of the year. He does not look like a comeback player of the year. Let's face it. This Jets team is horrible. Overrated. Seriously, this is the same old Jets. I'm kind of glad the media just ride so hard on the Jets. Seriously, I'm glad they did because look at the Bills are doing this year. They're really still at the same standards, dominating the AFC East. That's what happens when you hype up a terrible New York team who honestly don't live in New York. They're from New Jersey. That's what they play at. The Lions are pretty lucky too. They're still one of the best in the league, but still, you don't win games when your quarterback throws 5 interceptions. You don't. I don't know how the Lions got that one. They're the luckiest damn team in the NFL along with the Chiefs. The thing is, Chiefs get lucky every game. I don't know how they pulled that one off. I don't know how you did. Jared Goff has a bad game, and the Lions still win and cover the spread in the pool. That is crazy. It was one of those just bizarre games. There's a lot of bizarre games we had this weekend. And the Rams didn't reach the end zone at all Monday night and lost the Dolphins. So the Dolphins look good, baby. They finally got back in the win column for the first time in a while. But yeah, now let's get into our NFL picks this week. Let's get into them right now for this week, finally. Let's start with tomorrow. That's a good slate of NFL games this week across the league. This is a good slate for sure. Let's start with tomorrow's Thursday night game. The Commanders and the Eagles battle for first place in the NFC East. This one's a very tough one. The spread is 3.5 favored by the Eagles. But I had a tough one. I think the Eagles won't cover. It'll at least come down to a game-winning field goal or something like that. They're not going to cover. They're not going by 4. I'll take the Commanders' points, but still, it's going to come down to who has the ball last kind of game. Is what I see tomorrow in that one. That's why I really see in that one. Who has the ball last? That's what I really could see it come down to. So I got to go with the points, but it could go either way. That one will. But next, 1 o'clock on Fox, it is the Green Bay Packers and the Chicago Bears. The Packers are favored by 6.5. They're caught off the bye week after a tough loss to the Lions, but they had enough time to rest, get some guys healthy, trying to get Jordan Love healthy. Meanwhile, the Bears, same old Bears, they suck. And the Packers are road favorites. I'm gonna go with the Packers in this one. They cover the points. And as my pick of the week. It sounds weird coming from Packers here, but just this Bears team is just god awful. Division games are tough. Don't get me wrong, but it's the same old Bears team. Let's be honest. And the Packers have owned them since 2019 season. They haven't lost them since December 2018. Still, it's just I won't try to jinx them. I'm just saying, like the Bears, they're not good. Caleb Williams gonna have a hard time with this Packers D. He'll at least get turned over once or twice. So I like the Packers in this one. That's one of our best games in the NFL, like along with some other ones we'll talk about later. Cleveland Browns at the New Orleans Saints. Not going to talk about this one as much. It's a pick 'em game. Both teams are terrible. Saints can't have a win while the Browns can't have a bye week. I'm going to go with Cleveland for some reason. I just don't know. One of those kind of games where Jameis Winston has a good game against the Saints. I'm going to go with the Browns. This one's another kind of a who cares kind of game. The Rams and the Patriots. Rams are 4.5-point favorites on the road in Foxborough. I'm going to take the Rams for sure. The Patriots won, but still, just the Rams have more depth than the Patriots in that one. Here's probably one up with the Bills Chiefs. I feel like one of the second best games along the AFC slate of games. This is another battle for first place in the line. AFC North on the line. The Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. A lot of people are going to see this game around the country. Most viewers will get this game on CBS. The Baltimore Ravens are 3.5 favorites on the road. Interesting one. But the thing is, Lamar is got a terrible record against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He could be due for a win, but I think Baltimore doesn't cover. It's going to be the same thing. It's going to come down to who has the ball last in this one. It also comes down to who has a better defense. Even though Steelers are definitely top 10, but still, Baltimore's still got a good defense as well. But I'm going to take the points in this one. I think the Ravens don't cover. Just like last week. Here's this one. This next one is kind of a who cares game. The Raiders and the Dolphins. That one's a terrible game. 7.5 favored by the Dolphins are 7.5-point favorites. I'm going to take the Dolphins to cover. It's the Raiders. Dolphins should win easily. And this one's kind of a mismatch here. Jaguars at the Detroit Lions. Detroit, luckiest win of the season probably. 5 interceptions and still won. But they're favored by 12.5 against Jacksonville. They should blow them out. I think they'll do better with the Jaguars compared to the Packers and the Vikings, especially the Vikings. I'll tell you that. The Packers thing is they have excuse, which is fine because they're without Jordan Love in that one. But still, it's the Jaguars. Lions, last time they played AFC-style team at home, they put up 50 points against the Titans. So I like them in that one. Speaking of the Vikings, they play another AFC-style team on the road. It's the Tennessee Titans. I think the Vikings will cover this one. But that one could be an upside alert still at the same time. But I'm because I rather play it safe. I just don't trust the Titans in that one. And the Bonnies are about to win too. Finally beating Florida Gulf Coast. Happy about that. But yeah, I'll take the Vikings in that one. Next, this was originally supposed to be a Sunday night game. The Colts and the Jets, but they got flexed because both teams are terrible. So the Jets are 3.5 favorites, which is surprising. But I'm going to take the Colts to the points because Anthony Richardson's back, and he's going to outplay Aaron Rodgers. Sounds wild, but I really think so. Jets are terrible. Now let's move on to the 4 o'clock slate. Seahawks and 49ers, kind of important game for the NFC West, kind of in the middle of the standings and all that. The 49ers are 6.5-point favorites at home. I'm going to take that. They'll only win by a touchdown. I can't count the Seahawks team still. I still can't count them out. But I just like the 49ers because McCaffrey's back. In that one. So I like that one. Falcons and the Broncos. This is kind of an interesting match here. Kirk Cousins versus a rookie QB. So, yeah. I'm going to take the Falcons, even though they're underdogs in Denver. I got to go with the Falcons for some reason. And in that one. But all right. Before I talk about the Bills, final score, the Bonnies won 74-65. A good win A lot of Bonnie's fans showed up in Florida Gulf Coast. That's a good road win. So Bonnie's are 3-0. Good win here tonight for the Brown for sure. For the brown and white. Good win for the Bonnies. Going into Florida Gulf Coast. I mean, a team that we lost to a couple years ago, and Bonnies bounced back. There you go. 3-0 now in the year. Beating 2 big road wins. And now got a home match with Lemoyne this weekend. Good win for the Bonnies. All right. The game of the week. Definitely America's game of the week. The Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. The fraudulent undefeated Chiefs. 9-0. Going into Buffalo Bills. Going to Buffalo. Of course, the NFL Today crew for CBS will be at the stadium. They will be in the tailgate with the Bills fans. So they'll be hanging out around the Bills fans. Just experience what Bills Mafia is all about. So that'll be interesting how that game goes this weekend. Oh, yeah. Keys this one. Of course, we already know they already ruled out Keon Coleman. He is out. The Bills already ruled him out. Pacheco, I think, is going to be off the IR, so he has a chance of coming back this weekend. Of course, last time these two met, Tyler Bass missed a field goal, and that's how the Chiefs won. And this is the rematch of the divisional playoff. So Tyler Bass has gotten red hot all of a sudden. But still, I'm sure it's getting to him, but he's building some confidence right now after kicking a 61-yard field goal almost 2 weeks ago against the Dolphins, a game winner. Could it come down to that again? I don't know. I hope not. But I think it's the spread is 2.5 favored by the Bills. I think the Bills cover. I think the Bills win by more. Not because I'm a Bills fan. I just think the Chiefs are going to get exposed and get destroyed. The Bills are thinking about that loss in the playoffs last year. Plus, the Chiefs have been getting lucky. They're due for a loss anyway. So it depends who the Bills get back, but I still like Buffalo, especially the home field, especially with the Mafia. That is going to be the loudest game all year, loudest crowd all year this regular season. That place is going to be rocking. So everyone's going to get that game on national television because they're like no regional coverage. Yep. University of the Fire Engine. Oh, my God. You're absolutely right. That is true. This is around this time where Dorsey got fired. That's right. That Monday night game. You brought up a good point there, but still, I like Buffalo in this one. Plus, they're up for revenge. And the Chiefs, undefeated streak. And all those Kansas City Chiefs fans and all those Kansas City Swifties are going to be crying when the Bills Mafia runs wild all over the Swifties. I'm telling you, I may get some backlash for sure. I'll talk about the Swifties, but Instigator Mick don't care. He's a Bills fan at heart. So go Bills. Fuck the Chiefs. Now, Sunday Night Football, this game was flexed because the Colts and Jets are terrible. This is a good quarterback matchup. The Bengals and the Chargers. This is a good one for Sunday Night Football. I mean, Joe Burrow versus Justin Herbert. Oh, man. Last time these two met was a lopsided one. I think it's come down the wire. The spread is 1.5 favored by the Chargers. I'm going to go with the Bengals this week. Bengals, after coming so close to beating the Ravens twice, I think the Bengals are going to win this week. For some reason. This is an upset, kind of a mild upset, beating the Chargers. I don't know why. I just feel like the way Jamar Chase been playing, the way Joe Burrow's, the way they're getting going, finally they're starting to cook something in this offense. I got Cincinnati in this one. And to finish off week 11, it is Monday Night Football, the Battle of Lone Star State. It is the Houston Texans at the Dallas Cowboys in Jerry World. 7.5 favored by the Texans. If Nico Collins is back, it's definitely they're going to cover it. 7.5 Texans are fair. They're going to cover. Cowboys are dog shit terrible. And besides, C.J. Stroud's proven why he's a better quarterback in the state of Texas in the NFL this year. So I got the Texans by a lot. Thank you all for tuning in here. Bonnie's win tonight. And hopefully the Bills get a win over the Chiefs. Hope I do well in my pick of the week again, like I've been doing all year. Hope you enjoy your football weekend, especially this NFL slate we got for you this weekend. Enjoy. Go Bills. Fuck the Chiefs.